welcome to our English news edition coming to you from Canal, Algérie. To the headlines. The national football team progresses to the Côte d'Ivoire 2023 African of Nations tournament following a 1 victory to Niger. An important rise of hydrocarbons exports recorded by the national oil company Sonatrach in 2022, in addition to a slight production increase. And during this month of piety, we pay a visit to the mosque of Sidi Uqba in Biskra province to delve into the atmosphere prevailing there. Good evening and welcome back. Let's start off with this good news. The national football team secured its qualification to the final phase of the African Cup of Nations 2023 to be held in Côte d'Ivoire following their 1-0 victory to Niger in the fourth game of the Group F. The sole goal was scored by Baghdad Bounjah. Following this fourth consecutive triumph, the Algerian side tops the group with 12 points. More success for our Desert Warriors. In economic news, the Sonatrach Group revealed in its latest report that the total export revenue reached $60 billion during the year 2022, whereas the national hydrocarbons investment reached $5.5 billion during the last year. Sonatrach also consolidated its position in the international market for oil and gas by 15 new discoveries, including 3 in cooperation with foreign companies. And the pharmaceutical industry is gaining ground in Algeria. The production laboratory of generic medicines in Iran is a telling evidence of this growing success. It produces 40 million units per year and aims to conquer the foreign markets. Melissa Kebash has the details.
This pharmaceutical laboratory, located in the province of Iran, is known for the development, production, and commercialization of generic medicines. After years of its creation, this unit has gained ground and has become an essential actor in this sector. Our production capacity reached nearly 40 million per year. So far, we produce 70 medicines, including antibiotics and corticosteroids. We managed to produce about 16,000 syrups in 8 hours of production and 48,000 in 24 hours. The laboratory is equipped with the state-of-art means so as to meet the international standards, and of course, it is run by young and motivated pharmacists, chemists, and microbiologists. We assure the physical, chemical, and microbiological analysis of raw materials thanks to the latest technologies. With the aim of reaching the international market and ensuring our health sovereignty, the public authorities adopted this strategy so as to develop the pharmaceutical industry and make it a real economic pole.
Still in the economic field, the province of Mila is booming with the relaunch of investment projects blocked by operating licenses. This administrative hindrance is now removed and the local investors are racing the clock for a sustainable development. Melissa Kebash once again.
This production unit, specialized in the production of tomato paste and jam in Shalom El Eid, has finally been granted an operating license after being active on an agricultural land. Exporting nearly 7,000 tons of foodstuffs towards Libya is one of the unit's objectives. After the extension of our unity, we aim at increasing our production capacity so as to reach self-sufficiency and reach the international market, which will allow Algeria to garner hard currency. After being imported from Turkey, wooden doors are now produced here, as it is the case in this unity in Tajnant. Thanks to this permit granted to investors, 3,400 jobs were created. The province's commission will study the remaining files by the end of March. This is the 7th operation of permit license granting witnessed by the province of Mila, meant to support industrial investments and reduce imports.
In a different context and as part of the fight against terrorism and thanks to the efforts of the different security services belonging to the Ministry of National Defense, the terrorist named Milouki al-Habib, known as Rabi', surrendered to the military authorities in Burj Baji Mukhtar. The terrorist, who was operating in the Sahel region since 2012, had in his possession 1 Kalashnikov, 5 bombs, 5 chargers and a quantity of ammunition. This operation proves once again the high vigilance of the People's National Army's units in quest of preserving the country's peace and stability. And violence against the Palestinians is taking a serious turn during Ramadan. The Palestinian Presidency and Foreign Ministry are calling for an active American and international stance to force the Zionist entity to end its attacks. For its part, Hamas condemns the attack on Al-Quds Mosque, terming it as a crime against freedom of worshippers. Ines Kullu reports.
In a context of increased violence, Palestinians have been suffering since the beginning of the month of Ramadan from the ongoing Zionist occupation attacks and aggression targeting the city of Al-Quds and Al-Aqsa Mosque. The worshippers of Al-Aqsa Mosque in recent days were attacked by the Zionist police, in addition to numerous incursions of extremist settlers and the arbitrary arrest of Palestinians. The Zionist occupation army carries out daily arrests in the cities and towns of the occupied West Bank and the city of Al-Quds under various pretexts. In the face of this situation, Palestine called for an effective American and international stance to force the Zionist entity to stop its aggression targeting the city of Al-Quds and Al-Aqsa Mosque. It also urged regional and international parties to put pressure on Zionists to end this escalation of attacks by their army and settlers during the month of Ramadan. The resistance movement Hamas said that the attacks on Al-Aqsa Mosque is a crime against freedom of worshippers and added that people will defend their right to pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque at any time and by any means, condemning the Zionist entity's violation of sanctity of Al-Aqsa Mosque and attempts to change its legal and demographic composition. The escalation of violence comes at a time when the Zionist occupation continues to build and expand settlements, confiscate land and displace Palestinians. On Friday, the Zionist occupation issued tenders for the construction of over 1,000 housing units in the occupied West Bank, ignoring multiple condemnations. At the same time, the Zionist entity is paralyzed by an unprecedented political crisis and a call for demonstrations, which threatens a general conflagration.
Still in Palestine, where the remains of at least 12 Palestinian prisoners have not returned, they were martyred in Zionist jails and still held by the prison's administration. It is worth recalling that the total number of Palestinian detainees in the occupation's jails reached by the end of last January 4,780. And human rights violations continue in Western Sahara even during Ramadan. It is the case of the Sahrawi journalist, namely As-Salha Mohammed Al-Bashir Boutenkiza, victim of violence by the Moroccan occupation authorities on the first day of Ramadan. Let's have a listen to her.
تعرضت للتعنيف أول يوم رمضان على الساعة 3:30 بتوقيت غرينتش.
I was tortured on the first day of Ramadan at 3:30 a.m. by agents of the Moroccan occupation forces in the presence of the chief of the 7th district and members of the Makhzen's intelligence. I was humiliated and subject to physical violence. I still have the after effects on my body, as you can see on my leg. Moreover, all the responsibility for these violent and heinous acts rests with the Moroccan occupation forces, including all human rights violations and crimes against humanity suffered by Sahrawi activists, journalists and citizens. I denounce the silence of the international community in the face of the horrendous acts of the Moroccan occupation forces committed against the Sahrawi people.
In France, it has been 1 week since the retirement reform was forcibly adopted. The French government is trying to calm things down by proposing consultations with the trade unions without any success so far. A new Black Tuesday is planned with important rallies, while more than 15% of the petrol stations in the country were already out of gasoline and diesel this Monday. To Tamarasat province now, more precisely, in the workshop of Al-Hajj Ismail, different types of traditional jewelry are made with very old techniques, a family business where the skill is transmitted from one generation to another. Story by Najah Diyar.
Soon after his arrival to the workshop, the Hajj Ismail begins by lighting the crucible that is necessary in the making of all kinds of precious metals, which will be used later to make his jewels, an ancestral technique that he learned from his grandfather. I have been working here for about 60 years. I was very young when I started learning this trade. We make all kinds of jewelry, bracelets and rings by hand, thanks to techniques that are passed down from generation to another. An art that he made sure to pass on to his sons. Nasruddin, a trained journalist who is also a craftsman and comes to lend a hand in his spare time. We make traditional jewelry. We make necklaces, bracelets, rings and silver sets. All depends on the customer's demands. We have local customers and customers who come from other provinces. In this district, all families have members who master traditional jewelry making and work at an artisanal jewelry shop. It is a profession that is passed down from father to son. Our family has been living here for several generations. Little by little, other families of craftsmen have joined us, and over time this district has become renowned for artisanal jewelry. Our children also come to the workshop at a very young age to start learning the basic techniques. It is our livelihood and also its tradition that we try to perpetuate. Known for their skills, this district has become a reference in the field of artisanal jewelry making in the great south of Algeria. Their creations are now sold in the vast majority of the country provinces and even abroad.
And we wrap up our news bulletin with this visit to Biskra province, more precisely to Sidi Uqba Mosque, to delve into an atmosphere of piety during this blessed month of Ramadan. Story by Nakhla Al-Arbi, taken up by Najah Diyar.
Erected in the year 686, the mosque was built around the tomb of Uqba ibn Nafi' al-Fahri, 350 years after his burial. The mosque, that's the third oldest in the Maghreb, was the subject to several refurbishment operations and became an important center of religious and cultural influence. It also witnessed the passage of eminent scholars. It is the oldest religious monument after the Mosque of Qayrawan and Abu Muhajir Dinar in Mila. Its architecture is inspired from the Prophet's, peace be on him, mosque in Al-Madinah. The mosque was classified as a national heritage in 1996. It is the same for the mausoleum of Uqba ibn Nafi', classified the same year. The mosque houses a set of remains including the Tubna Gate, classified during colonialism in 1900. The mosque is considered as one of the most important cultural, historical and tourist sites in Algeria, and in Biskra in particular. It should be noted that the original plan of this mythical mosque is very simple. Simple materials such as wood, stone and even palm stems were used, covered with lime mortars that is now a part of a large religious complex. Uqba ibn Nafi' is a companion of the Prophet, peace be on him. On his return from an expedition that took him to the Atlantic, this Sahabi took the road of the Sahara Tel or Plateau, which crosses Tubna locality, the current Bedika located in the Tahuda that is 6 kilometers from Biskra. The identification of his tomb was possible thanks to an inscription in Kufi characters engraved on the plaque covering his tomb where the mosque was erected. The mosque records a high attendance rate and attracts many local and foreign visitors given the religious and historical scope of this religious building and of the whole region conducive to religious tourism in particular.
And with that, our today's news edition comes to a close. Thank you for joining us and goodbye.